thing. Is that fine with everyone?
Let's go. That's fine. So, welcome back to the Super Movie Buff Podcast. I'm Patrick. I'm here with Mattias, Benjamin, and Michael, and we're going to be talking about I Saw the TV Glow. I'll kick us off since this was my pick this time, my pick for the month. I saw this movie in theaters, and it really hit me hard. This film was obviously a trans allegory of a movie, but I also feel like a lot of trans and LGBTQ films I kind of relate to in the sense of like a lot of them deal with isolation and alienation among your peers and among society. And as someone with like autism and other things going on, I tend to heavily relate to those kinds of themes. So a lot of the ideas in the movie, even though I'm not part of that community, really resonated with me in the way that's like the exploring of identity and like, do you choose to give into your true identity or do you shut that off to be safe in society, but ultimately live a life that's not fulfilling? I just thought it was like a very interesting movie, the way that they explored those themes. Hey, Mike, what did you think of the movie?
I liked it. I thought it was really abstract in a good way. It's a hard movie to pin down and kind of really even understand. And I mean this in a good way. It's a hard movie to even understand what's going on. There's a lot of sort of, is it dream? Is it his own projection? Is it, you know, is it reality in the same way that we kind of encounter reality? Like what exactly is going on? And you kind of really hit it on the head. Like there's a certain sweetness actually to the film. I thought, especially in the relationship between Maddie and Owen. It's not sexual, like they don't get together. But there's a kind of a undercurrent of understanding that like even if the world is very abstract and very kind of chaotic, they somehow find stability in each other in a way that is really really sweet. And I kind of like the idea, like as they're fighting this throughout the course of the film, they're fighting this character called Mr. Melancholy. And the basic point seems to be in the film seems to kind of come up again and again of life is short. So whatever you do, like they keep saying a line over and over again that I'm going to butcher a little bit, but it says like, if I think it, it's real, or some version of that. And I think that I was trying to think about why they repeat this line over and over again in different contexts. And the only thing that kind of came up to me was like, it's trying to reinforce the idea that your life can be what you choose it to be. So choose well. And there's even a point where Mr. Melancholy tells one of them, he says something to the effect that like, if I can get people to forget that life is short, it it lulls them into a sense of security and keeps them from achieving their true potential. And there was something so sad and beautiful about it, and of course it culminates in the end where for me, I guess I am going to give it away. Like for people, like if you don't want to know the end, like
I'll
maybe
put a disclaimer
skip
that
this
there's
part.
spoilers.
But like there's a part at the end where he in this world he kind of take the Owen character takes off his shirt and kind of pulls back his skin, and in his skin you see the heroes that he's been worshiping this whole time are in him. And the way I interpreted that is it's his chance to kind of let that side of himself out and to actualize it. And it's actually really sad that when he puts his skin back on and he spends the last 5 minutes of the movie just saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and just apologizing to everybody um, for temporarily unleashing that side of himself. And in that way, it's kind of a little tragic. It's a little because it's a manifestation, I think, of what we all do as human beings. Is like we have this opportunity to live a great life, a fulfilling life, a powerful life in different ways, and we put our own light out. Other people don't do it to us. We do it to ourselves because we forget that life is precious and life is short. And, it doesn't last forever. So you got to make every moment count. And so I really liked it. Again, it was a trip, but, and I don't, for people who have seen the previous episodes, I hate horror movies. I do not like horror movies. And so for me to say that I liked this film a lot, that is a sort of sits between sci-fi and horror. And by the way, I think speaking about Mr. Melancholy, I thought his costume was great. I loved the way that he looked. Like So I think for me to say that I liked it uh, is kind of significant in that way because I don't typically like films that are in this genre. But yeah, I found it really interesting and I enjoyed it. Matthias, what did you think?
Yeah, I liked it as well. This seems more and more to become like the podcast thing that me and Benjamin has, where we always agree and like everything. Um, yeah, no, I didn't get the trans allegory until towards the end, and that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Because I told you.
Yeah, basically because you told me, and that made me rethink it. I have a I don't I'm not very good at movies where you have to
Think.
interpret things, because I guess it has to with my uh, grown up no, what's it called, my youth.
Adult. Or what do you
Yeah.
mean?
So anyway, that part, when I was told that was what it was, I really thought about it. I really enjoyed it, and it was really fun. And I liked the movie before that. I thought it was great. And then I felt that towards the end, or in the beginning of the end, where the transformation is coming, where Matt has come back, and they're trying to um, she's telling him the story, where she was. I felt. I kind of it felt slow, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I meant it lulled me into almost a sleep, because I was it was calm, it was nice, it was welcoming, it was very sweet. So it was almost like yeah. Um, I don't mean that it sounds like I'm complaining about it, but I'm not. I really liked it, but it was very slow. What I did like about it was, as a big fan of the TV show Buffy, the
Mhm.
Vampire Slayer, I loved all of the. It's obvious that the filmmaker loved the show, and so do I. So there was everything in it. The whole the pink opaque is obviously Buffy.
Mhm.
They even have Amber Benson, who played, I think it's Tara in Buffy, who's playing the mom of the kid that is lying about going to sleepovers to. So those things I liked. I'm not sure what the ending means, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and I love the look of it. I loved the lighting. I love the just the music, the ambience. Yeah, it's a really interesting movie, and it has 5.8 on IMDb, and that's criminally low. I think it should be much higher. I don't think it's the best movie of the year, like you did, Patrick, but I think it's a good to great movie that uh, deserves a bigger audience and more recognition.
Yeah, I gave it about a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, same.
Like, yeah.
And now we're going to Benjamin, who hates grading things. So what do you
Yes.
think?
Well, I'm not going to grade it, but I mean, what can I say? Since pretty much each and every one of you have already said pretty much everything about what you can say. But sure, I picked up on the trans allegory thing too, and I wasn't surprised when the director, I think in an article, mentioned that that's what the movie is. Not entirely though. What I saw in it was also because the main, what was the girl's name again?
Maddie.
Yeah,
Maddie.
I'm terrible with names.
Same.
But her journey is also an inverse of the main character. And what I mean by that is, sure, he's hiding who he truly believes he is or what he wants to be. As evident by the ending where he lets the audience know by, pulling up his entire rib cage and showing the audience what he actually wants to be. And her journey is an inverse in she might have similar or basically the same feelings, but she takes it out in a fantasy world, which is the Buffy segment. I saw that as she's trying to live those fantasies through something else, as the Buffy character or the Pink Opaque, while the main character pretty much tries to hide it completely and tries to live a so-called normal life. I think her journey is much more destructive in that way. I mean, she doesn't try to hide it, but she doesn't try to, I don't know, live it in a healthy way. I don't know what that would actually mean, but I don't know. I think it's a almost destructive journey. Also, she disappears 2 times. Now, I also know this is a metaphysical movie in a lot of ways. You're not supposed to take everything literally. But that's how I saw it. There was something very unsettling about it. It's a journey towards maybe destruction because we don't actually know what happens to her. And I also felt, she tried to help the main character, but in a very, not twisted way, but in a very forceful way. But I also guess that's because she can see and notice that you're not who you're pretending to be. You want to be something else, and I think that also annoyed her, which is why she tried to maybe not force, but to in a very aggressive way, like try to be who I can see you want to be. Which I'm not sure if that's a correct way of doing it, but I'm sure she's a person who's had to try and hide it for her entire life or live through something else. And then she finds like a vessel, which is the show, in order to live through it. But we have no idea if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I
You
guess
bring
she's
up something.
honest. Yeah, yeah.
No,
What are you gonna
sorry.
say?
No, finish your thought. Finish your thought.
No, that's basically it. That sort of unsettled me because I felt the movie was also kind of a critique on if you're a massive super fan of, well, in this case, it is Buffy. And if you live your entire life through a fandom, even if, let's say, the main character is non-binary or whatever, and they live through it through a character, but not really in the real world. I thought the movie was sort of a critique on that because in trying to live authentically in who you are, you're still putting on another layer, another mask, because you're trying to be like this show or this character. It's sort of like a dark reflection back.
Hmm.
That's what I saw. That's not the entire thesis of the movie, but that's also what I saw in it.
You brought up something interesting that I actually hadn't considered is that Owen, the main character, his flaw, for lack of a better word, perhaps, is that he thinks too much about what other people want him to be, and so he becomes a chameleon. He
Yeah,
he gives up who he is to kind of try to fit in. It never occurred to me until you said it that the girl has the same problem in reverse. Is that her issue is that she completely rejects reality. She doesn't try to live her authentic self within her reality. She leaves reality. She
yeah,
goes,
exactly.
I'm out of here. And it never occurred to me again until you said to go like that's also not the right thing. That's also perhaps not the right way to deal with it. That the right way to deal with it would be to find a way to be your authentic self, but within reality, not running from it. Not,
Yeah, that's what I
you
saw in
know,
it. And the character Owen, I really felt for that character because he's a person that's been maybe not severely mistreated, although his father seemed like a complete asshole, but
Yeah.
or maybe he was barely a character, which was the point, but he has been severely babied throughout his entire life. I mean, when the movie starts, I believe he's supposed to be 12, 13, maybe 14, and he can't go to a sleepover. They treat him like some precious object that is going to break if you look at him wrong.
yeah.
And I get the feeling that the girl, Maddie, she mentions that her father beats her in one scene. So it's also the opposite, and his family treats him like a precious object, and her family treats her like she's expendable, which
Mhm.
is a great juxtaposition between the characters, which is why I think it's very appropriate that she, as you said, she tries to escape to somewhere else. She doesn't want to face reality, while he is more rooted in reality, but maybe too much. He can't escape the confines of his own skin, which he sort of tries to do in the end, but he can't fully commit to it.
Do you
No.
guys think at the end of the movie, do you think the reality is real in the movie? Because like he says, for example, at one point he says, "Oh, I have a family now and I have a kid and I'm happy," but we never see that family. We
Yeah, he
never
Well,
doesn't
see
seem
that kid.
very
We
happy
don't
at all.
see things
yeah.
outside of whatever he tells us. And I was kind of curious what you guys thought about that.
I mean, my take, that, especially with the Maddie character, is that when she disappears, I believe she's then transitioned into being a masculine. Like when Maddie comes back, the dress is masculine. She has now transitioned to being a man. And Owen wants to become a woman, wants to make that transition. You see him wearing the dress in the football field with the pink opaque. And when he sees Maddie now has transitioned, he doesn't know how to do what he's now doing. Maddie's now a he, and that scares him. And so at the end of the movie, Owen is given into like the traditional heterosexual normative life of like, the wife, the kids. And now the show that he once felt inspired by to make those changes in his life doesn't ring the same way for him anymore. But then at the birthday party, at that scene, like it's still inside of him. There's like that scene earlier in the movie where he's trying to go into the TV. He's trying to transition into his real self, and his dad is aggressively pulling him out of that and not allowing him to fully become himself. But then when Maddie disappears, the TV's broken in the street in the scene prior because they have fully now transitioned into their real self. And so, but then at the end of the movie is that whole idea of like when Owen pulls it open, it's like it's still in him and he has to like shove it back in. And there's like even like wasn't it written on the street, you're running out of time.
Yeah.
Because like
there is still time, I think.
or there's still time, but there's a
Yeah.
sense of like, there's still time, but it's not gonna be
It's
forever.
not unlimited.
And I think that's interesting because a lot of movies will be like, oh, there's still time to make a change, there's still time to make a change. And this movie is very much like, yes, but it won't be there forever. Like
Yeah.
eventually you're either going to like choke yourself out and give into this life that you don't really want to have. That scene at the end with Owen and the birthday party is so terrifying because he's so isolated and he's working this like dead end job and he has like the meltdown in the bathroom. And then like you see, it's just I don't know, it's intense.
Now I really liked it too, because as far as the main character goes, and I kind of feel bad for him because due to the amount of babying he was put through, he wasn't even allowed to try something else.
Yeah,
He wasn't
exactly.
even allowed, and I don't mean a full transition. He wasn't even allowed to, I don't know, wear pink. He wasn't even allowed to do that. The most
Yeah.
basic
You have in the
transition.
car, he's like, I want to watch the Pink Opaque. And the dad's like, that's a girl show.
Hmm.
Why are you going to watch this girl show? Like everything is like so gendered for him in that, with his dad being so like hyperly aggressive about like, this is how you need to be.
Exactly. And I mean, if she has fully transitioned in a way, or I guess Owen still sees her as her because that's what he remembers. She doesn't really seem any happier at all. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if that's because I don't know. Maybe she expected it to fix all of her problems,
Yeah, and
and
she
that's
lost
not
her only friend, and that friend doesn't want to
anything to do
come
with
with her.
her.
Well,
Yeah,
Or yeah.
like I think that is reality. Like even if you are your true self, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy.
Hmm.
Because you're authentic to who you are, it doesn't mean life is easier. But that's that choice you have to make. Are you going to be miserable but authentic, or are you going to be safe but still miserable? Like it's very bleak in some ways, but it's complicated.
That's
Yeah.
exactly the word that I found myself thinking about when watching the movie Bleak. I love bleak movies. I always have, because bleak is very different to miserable. I don't feel like this was a miserable movie because this movie was also very dynamic in what happened to the characters. I feel like a miserable movie for me is, it goes just like this, downhill. I don't think that was the case with this movie because it's dynamic in the way that when he pulls back, he tries to take one step forward, he pulls back again. He goes south, he goes west, you know.
And the movie
It's,
has hope in it too. You don't feel
yeah,
like
exactly.
this, but you also feel like maybe the characters don't always make the best choices that would give them their best life.
Yeah, because they're human. They're not going to make perfect choices.
Yeah.
And it's a very, as I said before, it's a very metaphysical movie. You're not supposed to. They live in a quasi-real world. It's the entire movie is a basic expression of how the characters feel. That's why it looks the way it does. That's why Owen acts the way he does. I mean, he's obviously supposed to be on some sort of spectrum as well. That's what I saw through it. Maybe she is too, but not necessarily. And like all of the emotions are heightened in the movie because, okay, he feels trapped, so all of the colors on him are very muted, very dark. His bedroom is it's not very vibrant when he visits her. They have a fish tank that is very like hazy green. You know, there's a splash of color in her scenes that doesn't exist when he's in his own bedroom. It's very dark, drab, and there's no life in it.
And again, that speaks to his chameleonness because he doesn't have
Mm.
colors that would clash with anything.
No,
Mhm.
it's very
It's
uniform.
it's grays and black, and people kind of come in and come out without almost without interacting with him. Kind of like
Yeah, that's what
even the
I.
mom, even his mom, who is a little more well-rounded than the dad. Even with the mom, she doesn't really she acts compassionately towards him, but again, like you talked about, like he's not. It didn't feel like a person. It felt like a cat that she just really loves. The dad doesn't care about this cat as much, so he's kind of a little disconnected from it. But she just kind of smiles and like pets him a lot, almost like she kind of like it's like okay, like are we gonna have a conversation with your son, or are we just gonna kind of smile and just hold him and go, yes, boy, like, and I don't know. Again, is like it's obviously his perception of his parents too. Like that's why I push back on how much of the reality he sees is actually reality and how much of it is just his own projection or what it looks like to him. You know,
Mhm.
um, I don't know,
I mean, because you don't really
but
see. There's a great scene where I think it's towards the end when he presents to the audience that he has a family. I think he's picking up a flat screen TV on his porch that he recently
yeah,
ordered. And he tells the audience, yeah, I have a family and I have a wife. And he doesn't
but we
smile, he
don't
doesn't
see
show
them.
any. No, but he doesn't smile when he talks about them, he doesn't show any emotion at all. It's like
Yeah,
he states to us that he has a family. That's all he does. It's a statement. There's no
yeah,
emotion behind it. He might as well have just said, "Well, this is my new TV." He can say that in the exact same emotion.
yeah. It was
So
interesting.
I,
This was a
I
good
guess,
choice. This was a good choice.
yeah, I really liked it. I mean, is it a case of an unreliable narrator? I
Mhm.
mean, how much should we actually believe in what he's telling us?
Yeah, but I think it means not the same thing. But if it's an unreliable narrator, it means that uh, he regrets his choice. And if it's not, it doesn't mean that he doesn't regret his choice. So it doesn't really matter if it's an unreliable narrator. It's just that he can't show emotion, or he doesn't want to, or he doesn't care to, or he is maybe afraid to. And that's kind of an interesting uh, way as well, that there is a character who lives his life and just, you know, maybe I made the wrong choice, or maybe I didn't. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's almost that feeling at times, I think. So yeah.
Yeah,
Another thing I really thought was interesting about this movie that I really liked was the use of music as a form of storytelling. Like in the beginning of the movie, I don't know if you guys caught that, but especially go back if you rewatch it. When he's in the parachute, the colors are reflective of the trans flag, and the song played is called 17-Year-Old Girl Anthem. So when you put those two things together, knowing that, the song is from the perspective of a 17-year-old girl trying to understand femininity and womanhood as a 17-year-old, and then his like walking through it and everything, it just kind of like sets this tone. And then at the bar, one of the songs being played is called "I Saw the TV Glow," and that's the one that we see like the full performance of with the iconic cameo by Phoebe Bridgers playing along with the band. So there's a lot of times where like music really helped to tell the story of the movie.
I know nothing about music, so I didn't pick up on that at all.
I didn't pick it up about the colors specifically, but I did get a sense of the music telling the story as well, and because the songs they performed in the bar were very they were telling a story in a way that also sort of mirrored what the main characters are going through, but
Exactly.
in a very different way.
and I kind of appreciated that because the songs were a little bit more grounded than the movie was. So I felt like that was the director going, I know I'm giving you a very abstract film. Let me give you something a little more solid to kind of put your feet on, to kind of hold on to for a minute through these songs. And so for me, it was extremely effective that way. I was able to allow the movie to be as abstract as it was because I was like, okay, there's a little bit more grounding and I'm a little bit more aware of what you're trying to tell me through the songs that you're using.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I really
so
like that too.
I found it helpful. I liked it.
That's a good point because I thought the two main actors were, incredible. I thought that they did
Mhm.
a fantastic job, and I guess in a contrast to that, because when I watch the main characters, I don't feel at all like I'm watching a
Oh,
performance. But when you're watching the performance at the bar, the movie is very clear that you're watching a performance to sort of pull you back from this abstract realm that you just were in. I think it's actually a very wise storytelling tool to let the audience, I guess, relax for a little bit.
hmm.
Because sometimes I don't know about you guys, but I see this in books a lot too. Like I'm willing to go on the journey with you, but I need to know that you know where you're going a little bit sometimes. Like there's some movies where I feel I get frustrated because I feel like the director didn't know where they were going and didn't know what was happening. And so that kind of frustrates me. But like where the movie like this with the touches of those of that music, it kind of reminded me of like, okay, I can go with her on this journey because this is very intentional and she knows where we're going. And so I can kind of then let the director kind of guide me through the story. Um, I don't know if you guys feel similarly to that, but like I've definitely, like I said, I've been, I can't think of other movies, but like right
That's
now, but like there have definitely been movies like that where confusing, right? Where I got up from the seat and I was frustrated because I was like, I don't know what you wanted me to do here. I don't know what the point of any of this was.
like,
Um,
that'd be an interesting question to ask. Like, are there movies that you've watched that are more abstract where it's too abstract, where you feel like, you know, this film's not following a traditional narrative, and also it's indescribable to me. Like, I don't enjoy watching this.
Yeah, for me
Um,
that's
all movies.
always. No, but I I I I grew up in a family where you couldn't have a different opinion. So if you ever watched something and you thought something, then you were either mocked or you were not beaten, but you were
I thought you were beaten.
pushed down. So I basically stopped having an opinion about things until I met like got to high school or something. But then I didn't have the guts to stand out. So that kind of is following me now, that I have trouble to make up my mind what I think this means. So I kind of zone out in movies like this. And not like this. This is not as abstract as it can be, but so that's when I watch a movie with Benjamin, and it is abstract. It's very often that he kind of has to come up with an idea, and I can think, no, I don't agree with that. That then I can have an opinion, but I can't form an opinion about a movie, which sounds stupid, but I can't really form an opinion about a movie because I'm afraid I will be judged by it.
I mean,
So
I don't feel
it is
like
the
that
wrong
is
opinion.
that I don't feel like that is completely true because I remember we were once watching a movie called du vet, Flicka med hyacinter, a Girl with Hyacinths from 1949 or 50.
Okay.
You know which movie I'm talking about,
I
right?
know which movie we're talking about.
It's a great psychological drama from the 1950s. And Mattias, he picked up pretty early that like maybe the big reveal or whatever is that the one of the main characters who is dead turns out to be gay and has lived sort of a secret life that no one knew about at all. And
But
I didn't see that at all. You picked up on it
yeah,
almost
but
immediately.
that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's
but
that
it's still
Yeah, but that
picking up
story.
on.
I very often when I watch a movie, I can pick out that that guy is the killer very early. That's a different thing. When it comes to something, there is a movie called Bye Bye Monkey in American or in English, which is about it's after King Kong. King Kong has fallen down from the the tower and he's on an island in New York, and there are some. It's a post-apocalyptic movie, and Gerard Depardieu and Mastroianni is there, and they run around and they do things, and then the movie ends. I have no idea what that movie is about. I don't understand it. And that's what I mean. I can't figure out what they're trying to tell in a story like this, as well as here. If you hadn't mentioned the trans thing, I would never have picked up on that. Um, so yeah.
The
So for
I
only
me,
didn't
when
I
I
didn't
watch
pick up on
abstract
it
movies,
either.
Well, to be fair,
uh,
I knew the director going into the movie and had already heard her talk about it. So, to my advantage, I already knew the
so
vibe
she
he
did.
was going for prior to seeing the movie, and that helped me to then, like in the beginning of the movie with the flag, I was like, oh, I understand the color scheme that they're going for and some of these other things. I don't know if I had just seen the movie, like just come off the street and knew nothing about it, if I would have been able to be like, oh, I know this is obviously a trans allegory. There was actually a point of debate when the film came out where a lot of people were frustrated because a lot of reviewers were just treating it like a movie about nostalgia and coming of age and glossing over the LGBTQ themes completely in a lot of mainstream reviews. And there was a lot of pushback on that because if they felt like it was kind of, you know, seeing the forest for the trees kind of idea. And then there's a lot of like, well, you can see it as different things. It's like it is, but it's also like an important film to this community. And we feel like you're not giving it the proper due. It was like a whole thing. It was very interesting to watch like that discussion kind of happen.
But that's also a thing. If there is a movie about a subject like this and the audience doesn't pick up on it, does that make it mean that it's not a good movie? Because that's what the movie is about. I don't like the. That's one of the reasons why I have a trouble interpreting movies because, as I said, if I interpret it wrong, people are gonna hate on me, and that's a stupid reaction, and it's a stupid reaction from the people who hate on it. But if there are critics who just think that it's about nostalgia, they have misunderstood what the point is of the movie, and that's fine because that's gonna be the thing that people do. Uh, I don't know if this is gonna come out, but the movie that we made, me and Benjamin, Boredom, we talked about it in one of the lost episodes. Um, there is uh, a reporter who walks into a police investigation in an apartment where a person died. And one of the people who critiqued the movie said that that's not believable. And that's fine. It's not. But that's not the point. The point is that it's absurd. It's an absurd story. It's about a guy who dies of boredom, and the reporter. I mean, the whole story is absurd, and I understand that you can feel that way about the movie, but then you have misunderstood the point of it. But does that mean that I failed in my mission to make the movie because you don't understand the movie? I think there's an argument for that. So if there is an argument that if there is a discussion that people misunderstood they didn't get the trans allegory, then the director failed.
well,
Kind of. I mean, that's. I mean, there's an. I understand the discussion that the director failed in that case, and it's an interesting discussion to have.
Well,
I
I think
think it's because what you're talking about is subtext. In regards to I saw the TV glow, I mean, like the trans part and all of the things that we talked about now. I don't think that is necessarily subtext because if you remove it from the movie, there's nothing.
it's a
I mean,
very
what is the movie about then? There's
Yeah,
nothing left.
exactly. And but if no one sees that, if a person doesn't see that,
Then
is
they see
that
nothing, basically.
yeah, and then they don't like the movie, and that's fine. But does that mean that uh, I didn't see the subtext or I didn't see this thing in the movie? So does that mean that I mean, yeah, it just means that yeah, I don't
It
know what I
seems
want to
like the
say.
question Matthias is asking is, can a movie be good, or any art form for that matter, any book or anything? Can a movie be considered good for reasons other than what the author intended?
I think absolutely because I think that a film can have multiple interpretations because even for me, like I understand it's a trans allegory, but the way that I connect with the movie is through like that constant need of like, am I going to be my true self or am I going to like shrink in these situations? Because even like as someone with like autism, like the pink opaque and their journey with it would be what we would call like a special interest. And like growing up, like I had that too, where people would be like, "Why are you talking about this show so much?" Or like, "Why are you into this media so much?" And how much it shaped the way that I saw things. So it'd be like these like situations of like am I going to just like embrace my love for this stuff and own my otherness, or am I going to kind of be like Owen and kind of like pull back and not be who I am in these situations, and then ultimately feel hollow? And even like when he goes back and he rewatches the show, like he's putting it down, like, oh, it wasn't even as good as I remember it being. Like he's retroactively rejecting himself when he was growing up and what he saw it to be. And that's kind of like how I saw it. So I feel like it can be good, even if you have a different take on the film. I think people's issues with it were that the people that had those reviews for it were pushing back on the trans allegory narrative and saying that they didn't see it in the film even after it was explained to them. So I feel like there was more of like an issue of erasure of themes for political reasons versus the other. As far as your film
But
goes,
it's
it's definitely a nitpick to be upset
but is
about.
that true? I mean, if there is a reviewer who watches a movie and they don't see the trans allegory, and then someone says, "Well, this is what it was about." Do they then go and say, "I watched the movie again and I still don't see it," or is it just, "Well, when I watched it, I didn't see it"? Because I think like this, and there are a lot of movies that I've seen that when I watched it when I was 14, I loved them. If I watch them now, I'm gonna hate them. But I can't say that I hate the movie because I haven't seen it for 25 years. So I can't really say that the thing that I know I'm gonna hate, that I'm gonna hate it in the movie. So you can't really say that just because that person disliked it when they watched it, or they didn't get that point when they watched it. I don't think you can say that, well, then you didn't watch the movie, or you have to watch it again, or yeah, I don't really buy that argument.
I think
That
what you're talking about is because there's a huge difference between if you see a movie and then you don't really understand what it's about, or you don't agree with how someone else might interpret it. And if someone says, "Oh, I see it like this," there's a huge difference between someone saying, "I don't really see it, but it's possible," or versus, "I don't see it, and that's impossible. You're stupid, kill yourself." No, maybe not like that, but declaring that it's impossible, it can't be in this movie. I think that's where the argument lies. It's totally different between someone saying, "I don't really see it in this movie." I think some people are saying, "I don't see it, and it can't be in it. That's impossible."
Yeah, I think more maybe it's also the argument that there are some people who say that if you don't see it, you're an idiot.
That might also be true, but I think it's more likely for someone to say, "I don't see it. It doesn't exist in it. Kill yourself now."
Yeah,
Uh, no, but it made me think about maybe some abstract movies that I didn't really get. And I also wanted to tie that back to if you feel frustrated while watching a movie, if you don't know the direction where the director is going. I think the only movie for me where I really didn't understand what it was trying to tell me was what was it called again? Last Days in Marienbad. Does anyone know
yeah,
which movie that is? Okay. Do you know which movie it is?
So what's it
It's
called?
a French art house movie about it takes place in this huge mansion. And the entire movie is basically the camera dollies around in the ballroom and the different rooms. It's a huge place. And the people in the ballroom, they're all dressed appropriately in tuxedos and dresses, but they don't talk to each other. You hear a constant voiceover that is sort of abstractly telling you, it sounds like dialogue, but no one in the image is speaking. And I believe it's like 1 hour and 30 minutes of this movie dollying around, and you sort of try to partake in these discussions where no one is actually talking. And I felt like I haven't seen it in maybe 10 years, but I didn't really understand what it was trying to tell me. Maybe it's like we have this entire room filled with people and this noise, this wall of sound where people are supposed to talk, but no one is actually talking. They're talking, at each other, not with each other. Maybe, but I didn't really understand it at all. And like Michael's point about when you feel frustrated, where you don't actually, where it feels like you don't know where the director is trying to go. I mean, I guess there's a couple of stories. I mean, I love stories about if the main character is a horrible person. I love stories like that. But I realize I have read a few stories. Usually it's in fiction. Of course it's fiction. All movies are usually fiction, but if it's books or novels, I tend to get bored of it. If if the main character is terrible and we only follow the main character, if it's the same things that happen over and over and over and over again, there's no dynamics. I mean, the main character isn't threatened, maybe nothing in their life changes. I tend to get bored because, okay, I've heard the same thing now for, I don't know, 200 pages. I mean, I love American Psycho, but that's also a very dynamic book in other ways. And I guess there are a few movies like that where I feel like I'm watching the same thing over and over for no good reason. You're telling me the same thing after the 100th time. That's when I tend to get frustrated.
Yeah,
Uh,
Like you're
I
muted.
don't,
Everybody died.
yeah.
I don't, I don't remember what the movie was, but it just kind of, I remember walking out of a movie. This was a few years ago, and the director had used a lot of not just not telling the story linearly, but he had used a lot of like music that was meant to make you feel awkward and like all of this stuff, and he had done it very purposefully. And the funny thing is, like, I happened to hear an interview from him where he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to make a movie that made people feel uncomfortable and made people feel unsure of what was going to happen." And I used even these filming styles. And I remember going, "Yeah, but then as a result of that, I literally didn't like your movie. Like, you didn't kind of let me in on the joke that you were purposefully making this uncomfortable. I just felt uncomfortable and then wanted to leave for the next 95 minutes." Like,
Sounds like
you
the
know,
Noé film.
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Was it a Gasper Noé film? That's his whole thing. Like he did
I've not
Climax.
seen any of his films yet, but I've heard about him.
Or is
Uh,
it Terrence Malick, Song to Song?
Terrence Malick is a good example of this. I cannot. The Thin Red Line. Everyone seems to love it. I don't understand why are we here for 3 hours? What are we doing? Like
Terrence Malick. I've not seen Thin
Tree
Red
of
Line.
Life. Oh, Tree of Life drove me nuts.
Love Tree of Life. Oh,
Me
it's
too.
so good.
Badlands is his best movie, I think.
Tree of Life. But I
I'll
think
never
I
know.
think
I
that's
don't know.
there are movies that's kind of like how I watch David Lynch movies. I feel like there are movies to be narratively understood, and then there's movies that you emotionally feel that you don't maybe necessarily understand narratively. Like I couldn't tell you, like you watch like Mulholland Drive. I couldn't tell you like this happens and this happens and this happens, but I could tell you like how it feels to watch a David Lynch movie. I couldn't tell you beat for beat. Same thing with like Tree of Life. Like I can't tell you the plot of that movie. I mean, the plot of the movies, a married couple whose son grows up and dies in the war, and then they're dealing with that, also dealing with generational trauma. But that's not even the point of the movie. The movie is just about like the human experience in poetry for 3 hours, from the beginning of the world to this family. I think it was in Pennsylvania that they live in, dealing with their son who died in the war. Poetry.
I think that's a great place to stop.
Yeah.
Are
So
we picking a new movie, or the new member gonna pick the
Well,
new
I was
movie?
gonna continue because I love David Lynch, but
Okay, sorry.
whatever.
Continue. We can edit it
No,
out.
no, I was just gonna talk about how when I think of David Lynch, I mean, I love his movies. There is actually an example of a movie. It's Lost Highway, where usually I feel like I understand what he's trying to get across with his movies. I don't with that movie. I'm not really sure what he's trying to tell me at all. I mean, I let's go for the easy one. I mean, I love Eraserhead. I think it's pretty clear what he's trying to tell the audience. I mean, there are several layers of subtext in that movie as well, but it's still, I mean, it's the basic story of the fear of becoming a parent.
it's about a single father raising a kid in
Yeah.
post-industrial America.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty clear, and there are other themes in it. But in Lost Highway, it's the story of how uh I don't know, of how someone turns into a mechanic. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know.
that car crash, and then like the next, it's such a trippy movie.
Yeah, I really like it too. I mean, the first part of the movie is how this couple is getting stalked by someone who leaves VHS tapes. of them filming the house. That's actually a really creepy thriller, but halfway through, the movie leaves that, and the main character, I guess, he transforms into a mechanic who lives in the Southwest somewhere in America. And he becomes, I guess he becomes like, he is the personal driver of a gangster. Uh, I don't know. I have no idea what the movie's trying to tell me.
We're not even given like a transition proper, isn't it? It's just like boom, and all of a sudden like we're just with this new character.
Yeah, you're with him in jail, I believe, or
Yeah.
in prison, and that's it. That's the transition. Uh, I mean, I really like it because it has that typical David Lynch, I don't know, ethereal, dreamlike tone to it.
And I think that works with that. Going back to Mike's point is that like I trust that he's doing something with it. Like even if I don't understand it on like a cognitive level,
Mm.
it makes me feel something. I don't feel like he's just doing it to be like, and then I'm going to be random. Like you feel like he knows what he's doing, even if he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he's doing something with it. It's not just like throwing darts at a board. Like sometimes directors feel like they're being weird for the sake of being weird, but not that movie.
Well, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to talk about David Lynch.
Always a good time talking about David Lynch. All right, so Benjamin, pick a movie for us.